Ever walk into a room and then blank? You stand there staring, wondering, wait, why did I even come in here? Yeah, you're not alone. And no, it's not just getting older. It's not your phone, not your job. It's everything. This fast-paced, always-on, hyper-stressed world we're all stuck in, it's cooking our brains. But what if I told you the fix isn't in your phone or your fridge or a prescription bottle? It's right under your nose, literally breathing, but not that lazy autopilot stuff you do between checking emails and yelling at the news. I'm talking about intentional, focused, mindful breathing. Now, don't roll your eyes. This isn't some incense-swinging, sage-burning ritual from the mountains. It's old, yes, but it's not outdated. In fact, it might be the most powerful life hack we've all been ignoring, because here's the truth. Your breath, it's not just air, it's data. It tells your body when to panic, when to focus, when to rest. It's your personal, built-in stress barometer, and it never lies. When you're angry, it spikes. When you're anxious, it tightens. And when you're fully present, calm, in control, it flows like a river. The Buddha knew this thousands of years ago. And now, neuroscience is finally catching up. They've done the scans, run the tests. Turns out, when you pay attention to your breath, your brain rewires itself. Less stress, more focus, stronger memory. And the best part? You don't need gadgets. You don't need apps. You don't need some influencer shouting, "Just breathe," while sitting on a beach in Bali. You just need you. A nose, a pair of lungs, a little patience. In a world obsessed with productivity hacks, overpriced supplements, and 5-second dopamine hits, the real upgrade was free all along. So next time you feel foggy, forgetful, disconnected from the moment, don't panic. Don't caffeinate. Just breathe. Because what if the real reason we're all so distracted isn't about willpower? It's about forgetting how to come home to ourselves? Yeah. Ever walked into a room and instantly forgotten why you're there? Like, poof, mind blank. Now, most people laugh it off. Just getting old, right? But what if I told you your brain isn't the problem, the real culprit? Something far sneakier, something invisible, stress, the slow killer, and no, not the movie style, running from an explosion kind. I'm talking about that low-level, always-on tension, the kind you don't even notice anymore, the kind that's been quietly rewiring your brain for years. But here's the twist. While the world's out here pushing brain-boosting apps, superfoods, and overpriced supplements, the actual solution, you've been doing it since birth. Breathing, not the shallow autopilot stuff we do between traffic, meetings, and passive-aggressive emails. I'm talking about mindful, focused breathing, the kind that hijacks your nervous system, flips the switch, and tells your brain, hey, it's safe now. Here's what goes down behind the scenes. When you slow your breath, your body shuts off its panic alarm. The whole fight or flight response, it steps aside, and in its place, calm, focus, that magical state where memory works again, where thoughts feel less like static and more like signal. It's not a theory, it's biology. Stress pumps out cortisol, a hormone that's great if you're running from a bear, but terrible for memory. Mindful breathing, it drops those cortisol levels fast, which means your brain finally gets a break. And your hippocampus, the part in charge of long-term memory, it gets a boost in blood flow. That's right. Breathing sharpens memory. It literally strengthens the neural pathways you need to focus, recall, and stay present. And before you roll your eyes, this isn't some monk on a mountain spiritual pitch. This is practical, accessible, anywhere, anytime. You don't need a meditation cave or a Himalayan retreat. Just a moment. And your nose. You could be standing in line, stuck in traffic, or sitting in a fluorescent-lit office wondering why you opened that 12th browser tab. You pause, you breathe, you come back to yourself. Because the real reason we're forgetful, scattered, anxious, it's not the phone, not the coffee, not even aging. It's disconnection from breath, from self, from now. And the moment you bring your focus back to your breath, boom, the noise fades, anxiety loses its grip. Suddenly, you're here. And over time, that little habit rewires your brain. Focus sharpens. Distractions fall away. Memory gets louder because the chaos gets quieter. Think of it like this. Every breath is like a rep for your brain. The more you train, the stronger your mental muscles get. Need to concentrate for work? Breathe. Facing a stressful decision? Breathe. Can't sleep? You already know what to do. Even the Buddha said, peace isn't about controlling the world, it's about mastering your mind. And guess what? Breathing is the access key. It's not a quick fix, it's a quiet revolution. And it's already inside you. So the next time someone tells you they've got a hack for focus, memory, or anxiety, smile. Then take a breath so deep, it rewires your nervous system. Because the mind doesn't need another app. It just needs you. Yeah, most people think stress is just part of modern life. Something you swallow like a bitter pill and carry with you into traffic, board meetings, and sleepless nights. But what if I told you your own breath, the one thing you've been doing since birth, is the cheat code you've been ignoring? See, the Buddha wasn't just sitting under that tree for shade. He discovered a truth so simple, it's almost laughable. Master your breath, and you master your mind. Master your mind, and you master your life. Sounds poetic, sure, but it's also disturbingly practical. Let's break this open. Box breathing, the mind's emergency brake. Ever felt like your brain was a browser with 37 tabs open and some random music playing, but you can't find the source? Box breathing is how you shut that mess down. Here's how it works. Breathe in, 4 seconds. Hold it, 4 seconds. Breathe out, 4 seconds. Sit in that still silence, 4 seconds. Repeat until your brain stops screaming. It's the breathing version of turning your phone off and on again. Except the phone is your nervous system. And the best part? It doesn't require yoga pants, incense, or belief in Mercury retrograde. You do this for just a couple of rounds, and your thoughts stop chasing each other like cats on espresso. It's not magic. It's biology. Your stress response literally runs out of ammo. The Buddha once said something like, "A calm lake reflects the sky." Translation: if your mind is chaos, don't expect to see truth or even find your car keys. Alternate nostril breathing, the brain's left and right. Hook. Now, this one sounds ridiculous at first. Close one nostril, breathe, then switch, like you're trying to tune a biological radio. But hang with me. There's science behind this spiritual-looking stunt. See? Your brain? It's got two sides constantly trying to wrestle control. One is logical, always anxious about emails. The other? Intuitive, daydreaming about quitting everything to start a goat farm in the mountains. Alternate nostril breathing shuts down the war between them. It's like couples therapy for your brain. Close right nostril, breathe in through the left. Switch. Breathe out through the right. Repeat like a calm little metronome for your mind. And you know what? After 5 minutes, you're suddenly making decisions like someone who drinks green juice and has a will already written, balanced, clear, dangerous, in the best way. Even Buddhist monks believe this brought harmony between emotion and logic. And considering these were people who gave up everything to sit in silence, you better believe they weren't wasting breath. 4-7-8. Breathing, the legal sedative. Now, here's the heavy hitter. If the previous techniques were like casual gym visits, this one is your spiritual spa day. 4 seconds in, hold it for 7, then let it out, slowly, for 8. Sounds simple until you try it, because during that 7-second hold, your mind wants to check Instagram, replay your childhood trauma, and remember that awkward email you sent in 2009. But something strange happens after a few rounds. Your pulse drops, your thoughts slow, that angry voice in your head starts whispering, and eventually vanishes. Doctors swear by it, insomniacs love it, and your overthinking cousin probably needs it. Yesterday, real talk. This is how you override your fight or flight mode without popping a single pill. So, what do these 3 breath techniques really do? They don't just help you feel better, they give you control, the rarest commodity in today's world. Because here's the secret nobody tells you, the fastest way to change your emotions, your memory, even your perception of reality, isn't through therapy or travel or a $600 self-help course. It's through your breath. And yet, most of us are walking around with the most powerful tool for clarity, healing, and presence right under our nose, and we ignore it. Jordan here from True Story. And the real scandal? We've been looking for peace in apps, alcohol, and algorithms when the solution was already breathing with us the whole time. Now tell me, what else in your life are you ignoring that could set you free? Ever wonder if you're just one breath away from rebooting your brain? No, seriously. What if the biggest scam of modern life isn't junk food or politics, but the way we breathe? For most of us, breathing is just background noise, something you forget unless you're jogging upstairs or yelling at your printer. But according to both ancient Buddhist wisdom and cold clinical science, you're probably doing it all wrong, and it's messing with your memory more than your high school math teacher ever did. Let me explain. There's this technique. No, not yoga, not chanting mantras under a moonstone, just breathing. It's called the 4-7-8 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Sounds simple. Too simple, right? Well, that's where it gets interesting, because behind those quiet seconds is a biochemical revolution. Your brain? It starts soaking up more oxygen. Your heart rate drops like a scandalous plot twist, and the hippocampus, the part of your brain that stores memories, it finally gets what it's been begging for: oxygen and peace. Why does this matter? Because the number one enemy of your memory isn't age, it's stress. Cortisol, yeah, that nasty little stress hormone, is basically a memory assassin. Every time you stress out, it chips away at the part of your brain that remembers birthdays, passwords, and where you left your car keys. Now, here's the twist no one talks about. Deep, mindful breathing doesn't just chill you out. It floods your brain with the kind of happy chemicals most people chase in pill bottles. Dopamine, serotonin, the VIP guests at the mental clarity party. When those show up, your focus sharpens, your emotions stabilize, and your brain starts functioning like it actually wants you to win at life. Still think breathing's boring? Let me hit you with some proof. In 2011, a study from Harvard, the one where people wear robes and talk about consciousness, found that just 8 weeks of this mindful breathing literally grew gray matter in your brain, especially in the hippocampus. That's like watering a dead plant and watching it bloom overnight. And the best part? This isn't about becoming a monk or moving to the mountains. It's about sneaking in a few moments of awareness, right in the middle of your everyday chaos, at your desk, in traffic, before yelling back at that one relative in the family WhatsApp group. Because when your breath becomes conscious, your life does too. The Buddha once said, "When breath is regulated, body and mind will harmonize, and when they harmonize, wisdom is awakened." Maybe that's not just philosophy. Maybe it's biology in disguise. So the next time life's got you spinning, just ask yourself, are you breathing or just surviving? They told you breathing just keeps you alive. Turns out, it might also be the secret to unlocking your memory. No, this isn't some wellness guru flexing in Bali. This is backed by scientists in lab coats and monks who've mastered stillness without Wi-Fi. At UCLA, researchers stumbled onto something wild. People who practice mindful breathing, not yoga, not juice cleanses, just breathing, had sharper memories. Not marginally better, significantly better. Because when you focus on your breath, distractions fade. And your brain? It starts filing memories like it actually cares. But it gets deeper. Over in Germany, scientists at the Max Planck Institute peered into the brain and found something eerie. Mindful breathing lowers activity in the amygdala, that ancient part of the brain built for panic and overreactions. You know, the one that flips out over texts like, "We need to talk." By calming that storm, your hippocampus, the part of the brain that stores memories, finally gets a chance to breathe too. It's like sending your brain to therapy without the copay. Now, Buddhist teachings, they've been onto this for centuries. They say breath isn't just air. It's the key to clarity. Because when the mind quiets, it doesn't just remember better, it understands better. Let's break that down. Mindful breathing sharpens mental clarity. That means when life hits you with a curveball, or, let's be real, a dumpster fire, you're more likely to respond wisely instead of spiraling. One breath clears the static. One breath stops you from sending that regrettable 2 a.m. text. And here's the twist most people miss. Mindful breathing doesn't just help you remember, it helps you forget. But in a good way. It clears the mental clutter, the emotional cobwebs, the what-ifs, and I should have saids. Buddha had a line for this. The wise live in the present. Translation? Stop scrolling through your mental archive of regrets. The real clarity lives here and now. And as you anchor into your breath, something unexpected happens. You start seeing the world differently. Little things feel less threatening. Big things feel more manageable. Your attention sharpens, not like a caffeine buzz, but like quiet certainty. You observe more, react less, and suddenly you're not just remembering better, You're understanding the pattern behind the chaos. And then the peace sets in. Because clarity doesn't show up in a storm. It arrives in stillness. A stillness you create with nothing but your breath. Science confirms it. Mindful breathing lights up the hippocampus, calms the stress hormones, and gives your brain space to think like it was meant to. From the Buddhist lens, it's not just a brain hack, it's a soul strategy, a way to stop being owned by the past or hijacked by the future. Just be here, inhale, exhale, fully. Now, how do you bring this mystical brain reset into your real messy life? You don't need incense or a Himalayan cave. You need 2 minutes right before that big meeting, before you crack open a book to study, before the chaos hits. Just breathe. Sit straight. Inhale through your nose. Feel it. Exhale slow. Do that 5 to 10 times, and something strange happens. Your brain starts listening again. Your thoughts, that felt like a traffic jam, suddenly find order. You stop obsessing over what happened or what might. You just are. This simple, silent act, it's a rebellion against stress, a protest against distraction, a whisper to your mind, come back. Because when your breath becomes conscious, so do you. You ever feel like your mind's a browser with 47 tabs open and not a single one's loading? That's not stress. That's spiritual spam. We live in a world where the second your eyes open, boom, the race begins. Emails, bills, expectations, judgments, and before you've even brushed your teeth, you're already failing someone's invisible checklist. But here's the kicker. The pressure isn't real. It's just your brain, caught in the act of time traveling, worrying about a future that doesn't even exist yet, haunted by a past that's already evicted you. That's where the ancient Buddhists had a cheat code. Your breath, it's not just air. It's the remote control to your reality. No, really. Forget all that inhale positivity, exhale stress nonsense they print on bath towels. This isn't about positivity. This is about power. Mindful breathing is like airport security for your thoughts. What gets to stay and what gets kicked out before it hijacks your mood. Now let's talk routines, not the Instagram kind, with lemon water and overpriced yoga mats. I mean those 10 minutes in the morning before the world barges in. That tiny window where you either claim your mind or surrender it to doom scrolling. Here's what you do. Before the phone, before the coffee, before the chaos, you sit and you breathe. Deep, slow, unapologetic. Like you've got nothing to prove to anyone. Because the moment you own your breath, you own your mind. And once you own your mind, game over for anxiety. Now let's flip to the night shift. Bedtime. You're not a robot. You don't power down just because the lights are off. That's why your body's tired. But your thoughts? They're partying like it's New Year's Eve. Here's the move. Slow, deliberate breathing, not for sleep, but for surrender. Not to the day you had, but to the one you get to start tomorrow. Buddhism calls this a daily death and rebirth. I call it cleaning house before the termites get comfortable. But hey, what about those emotional ambushes? The email that ruins your lunch, the phone call that flips your gut, the guy in traffic who's clearly auditioning to ruin your legacy. That's when you don't just breathe, you box breathe. 4 seconds in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. like you're diffusing a bomb, because sometimes you are. That bomb, it's your own mind, seconds away from saying or doing something that'll take weeks to clean up. And here's where it gets twisted. The enemy isn't your boss. It's not your partner, not even your blood pressure. The real saboteur? You, or more accurately, your untamed mind. The Buddha didn't sugarcoat it. No one harms you. Only your own mind does. Let that sit. But here's the plot twist most people miss. You don't need a cave in the Himalayas. You don't need incense or silence. You can breathe mindfully anywhere, while walking, while washing dishes, while standing in line behind someone who's clearly confused by self-checkout. Every moment you're awake, you're either reacting or reclaiming. And breath, real, grounded, intentional breath, is the switch between the two. Because every breath you own is a vote against chaos, a step toward peace, a quiet rebellion against a world that profits off your panic. Breath isn't just survival, it's strategy. And how you use it? We were born into a machine, not a literal one, but a system that runs like one. It feeds us a script the moment we arrive. Be useful, be busy, be better. From our first steps, it whispers, time is money, and your value is measured by how fast you move and how much you produce. School bells mimic factory sirens. Calendars become prisons. Success is dressed in spreadsheets and sleepless nights. We didn't choose this. We inherited it. We were handed the blueprint of a society built on productivity, not presence. And we worship it, without question, without rebellion. The lie became our language, our culture, our self-worth. But here's the twist nobody told you. Productivity is not the same as purpose, and busy is not the same as alive. To understand the trap, you have to trace it. Go back to the Industrial Revolution, back when factories needed human gears to keep the machines running. Our ancestors were trained to trade hours for survival. Efficiency became God. Rest became sin. And what happened next? We packaged that mindset, put it in textbooks, turned it into motivational posters. Grind now, shine later. No pain, no gain. Sleep is for the weak. We turned burnout into a badge of honor, fatigue into a flex. And somewhere along the way, we forgot how to simply be. Let's talk about hustle culture. It's marketed as ambition, but often it's fear in a suit. Fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough, fear of being still. Because when you're still, the voices come up, the insecurities, the doubts, the truth. So we keep moving, we keep grinding. We fill every hour with something to do so we don't have to feel what we've been avoiding. But the cost is brutal. Relationships start to fracture. Sleep becomes a luxury. Joy feels like an afterthought. And presence? That's the rarest currency of all. Here's something nobody says out loud. You can be addicted to productivity. It's not just a good work ethic. It becomes a compulsion, an obsession with output, a fear of stillness so intense that we equate slowing down with failure. Your mind gets hooked on checklists, on emails, on crossing things off even when they don't matter. You start mistaking motion for meaning, and slowly, without realizing it, your life becomes a to-do list instead of a story. Think about the moments that have broken you open. They weren't in boardrooms. They weren't during deadlines. They weren't while multitasking 5 things with half a heart. They were slow, raw, undistracted. A quiet morning with someone you love. A tear that surprised you. a sunset you actually noticed, the sound of your own laughter after a long silence. Presence lives in these cracks. And every time we chase productivity over presence, we trade a sacred experience for a shallow one. We miss our children growing. We miss our bodies asking for rest. We miss our intuition whispering a different path. The real revolution isn't in working harder, it's in waking up. What if success wasn't about how much you do, but how fully you live? What if we redefined ambition to include rest, slowness, and savoring? What if we honored presence as the highest achievement? Because here's the secret. The most powerful people in the world are not the busiest. They're the clearest, the most grounded, the ones who can sit in silence and still know their worth. They don't chase time. They make space. Presence isn't just being in the room. It's being in your life. It's choosing to taste your food instead of inhaling it. It's listening to someone without waiting for your turn to speak. It's noticing the sky, feeling your breath, slowing down long enough to actually hear your soul. In presence, life becomes poetry. You start to see things others miss. You feel deeper, think sharper, love better, because you're no longer skimming the surface of existence. You're diving in. And when you start living this way, people will notice. They'll ask why you seem so calm, so clear, so alive, and you'll smile because you know the truth. You stopped running. You started being. It starts with rituals, not routines. Rituals. There's a difference. A routine is something you do. A ritual is something you honor. Wake up without reaching for your phone. Sit in stillness before the storm of the day begins. Light a candle. Breathe deeply. Write a sentence that means something to you. Create micro moments that remind you, I am here. I am alive. I am not a machine. These rituals are resistance against the noise, against the rush, against the lie. Healing the inner timeline inside you is a timeline that screams, you should have made it by now. You're late, you're behind. But behind what? There is no real race, no finish line, only the illusion that you're running out of time. This is the most dangerous lie of all, that your worth depends on where you are compared to others. Comparison kills presence. It turns your life into a competition instead of a creation. But healing begins when you step off that track. When you say, I refuse to measure my life by artificial timelines. You reclaim your power by realizing you are not late. You are right on time for your own unfolding. Even in suffering, presence is the medicine. When grief hits, when anxiety flares, when heartbreak shatters you, being fully with the pain instead of distracting from it is how you move through it. Productivity tells you to get over it, to keep moving. Presence tells you, feel it, honor it, let it teach you. Because the truth is, what you avoid owns you, but what you sit with transforms you, and in presence, even pain becomes a portal. So here's the call. Stop measuring your worth by how full your schedule is. Start measuring it by how full your soul is. Create space. Choose stillness. Embrace the now. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to prove your pace. You just need to wake up from the lie. Because presence isn't a luxury. It's your birthright. And once you reclaim it, everything changes. Your focus sharpens, your energy softens, your relationships deepen, your creativity flourishes, not because you're doing more, but because you're finally here. You wake up And before your eyes even adjust to the light, your thumb has already found its way to the glowing rectangle on your nightstand, Instagram, emails, headlines soaked in fear, urgency, and outrage. Before you've even taken your first breath of the day, the world has already hijacked your nervous system. But here's what no one tells you. You're not just waking up to your day. You're waking up into a war zone, a war not fought with guns but with pings, not with blood but with attention. And a battlefield? Your brain. Welcome to the attention economy, where your anxiety isn't a side effect, it's the product. Big Tech's business model is simple. Keep you reactive, distracted, and emotionally stirred. The longer you scroll, the richer they get. Your mental breakdown is someone else's quarterly bonus. So when you take even 5 slow breaths, intentionally, fully, without checking your phone, you're not just calming down. You're staging a rebellion. Let's call it what it is. Mindfulness is counterculture. In a world that profits from your panic, stillness is sabotage. But let's rewind. How did we get here? Remember being a kid, staring at the ceiling fan, or watching clouds crawl across the sky? That was mindfulness in its purest form. Undirected, unmonetized presence. But somewhere along the way, society taught us that idleness was laziness, that productivity was virtue, that silence was awkward. And so we traded our presence for performance. Every moment had to be shared, every thought uploaded, every experience polished for likes. And now we sit, overfed, overstimulated, and emotionally malnourished. Here's the irony. We meditate now not to transcend life, but just to survive it. Because we're not just tired, we're spiritually jet-lagged. Our minds are always elsewhere. Tomorrow's meeting, yesterday's regret, next week's vacation, rarely here, rarely now. But this chapter isn't about guilt, it's about choice. Because here's the truth. Every moment you choose to be present, fully, inconveniently, rebelliously present, you're reminding the machine that you are not a cog. You are not an algorithm. You are not here to be optimized. You are here to live. Let's break it down. 1. Breath as a weapon. Inhale, you're disrupting the matrix. Exhale, you're reclaiming your soul. That's not yoga teacher poetry. That's neuroscience. Intentional breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for rest, digestion, and clarity. It's like hitting the brakes in a car that's been speeding for hours. 2. The myth of multitasking. Society wears busyness like a badge of honor. I'm swamped, we say, like it's a flex. But studies show multitasking doesn't just make you less productive, it actually lowers your IQ temporarily. You're smarter drunk than when switching tabs between tasks. So the next time you focus on one thing, one breath, one cup of tea, one conversation, you're not being inefficient. You're being intelligent. 3. Mindfulness is not always pretty. Let's be real. It's not always candles and soft music. Sometimes mindfulness means sitting in discomfort, watching your anger without tweeting it, noticing your jealousy without masking it with hustle, letting your sadness sit at the table without shaming it into silence. That's not weakness. That's radical honesty. Because presence is not always peaceful. Sometimes it's a mirror. And sometimes what you see isn't flattering. But guess what? You can't heal what you won't hold. And you can't hold what you won't face. 4. Reclaiming the mundane. Mindfulness isn't just for mountaintops or meditation retreats. It's for folding laundry, for brushing your teeth, for walking to your car. The secret isn't in the setting, it's in the seeing. When was the last time you really felt the water in your shower? Or tasted your food, not while watching Netflix, not while replying to texts, but really tasted it? You see, every moment has depth, but most of us are too busy skimming. 5. Stillness as strategy. In a loud world, stillness isn't passive. It's a power move. It's scanning the battlefield of your thoughts and deciding not to shoot. It's hearing your ego scream and choosing not to obey. It's recognizing the pull of the feed and gently closing the app instead. Because here's the dark truth. If you don't choose your mind, someone else will. And their goals aren't your peace. So what do? You pause, you breathe, you listen. Not to the noise, but to the space beneath it. Because the greatest rebellion in a distracted world is to be undistracted. Let's bring it home. You don't need a guru or a certification or an app. You need only one thing, the awareness that this moment, this one, right now, is not a rehearsal. It's not content. It's not branding. It's life. And every breath you take within it is a quiet protest, a vote for presence over panic, a whisper that says, I'm still here. I haven't forgotten. I remember who I am. That's mindfulness. That's rebellion. We spend our lives looking for shields, security systems, alarm clocks, insurance policies, backup plans, 10-step morning routines, all woven together in the name of protection. But here's the quiet, unsettling truth. No fortress built outside of you can protect what crumbles within. And what crumbles first? Stillness. You see, most people think stillness is about stopping, slowing down, hitting pause. But real stillness? It's not the absence of noise, it's the mastery of it. Stillness is not an escape from chaos. It is the eye of the storm, that sacred moment where time holds its breath and clarity dares to whisper. Let's take it back to something ancient, primal, the breath. A reflex so basic, it's been written off as automatic. But in a world that runs on adrenaline, breath is not just biology, it's a spiritual technology, one we've neglected, misused, and underestimated. Ever noticed how the breath shortens when you're afraid? How it turns sharp when you're angry? Or how it disappears entirely when you're overwhelmed? Your breath tells the truth, even when your lips lie. It becomes the biography of your nervous system. Now flip that. What happens when you take control of it? When you inhale with intention, when you slow the exhale like you're letting go of something ancient, you rewrite the script. You remind your body that it's not in danger, that you're not under attack, that you are safe here, now. Because here's what panic doesn't want you to know. It cannot survive in the presence of slow breath. Try it. Right in the middle of chaos. 3 seconds in, hold. 5 seconds out. Again. Do it like you're reclaiming stolen time. Because you are. In a world built to trigger your fight or flight, breathing with awareness becomes an act of rebellion. We're taught to hustle, to sprint through each day like it's a burning building. But no one tells you that stillness doesn't mean standing still. It means standing strong, unshaken, like a mountain rooted beneath the noise, unmoved by the storm clouds swirling above. And the storm will come. Oh, it always does. That call from the doctor, the betrayal you didn't see coming, the job that evaporates overnight. Life doesn't care about your peace, but your breath, that's your insurance, your armor, the one thing you can control when everything else is crumbling. Let's talk about war. Not the kind with bullets and borders, the war within. The war between who you are and who you pretend to be. The war between your fear and your freedom. And like every war, it has casualties. Your sleep, your joy, your sense of self. But breath? That's your ceasefire. That's your negotiation table. You sit with it long enough, and it will show you where you've been fighting shadows. And here's the part most people miss. Stillness doesn't scream. It doesn't perform. It doesn't need to prove anything. That's what makes it dangerous, in the best way. A person rooted in stillness can't be manipulated. You can't sell them fear. You can't bait them with urgency. You can't distract them with noise. They see through the panic. They know the difference between the fire drill and the fire. So how do you cultivate that? Not by booking a retreat, not by escaping to a monastery, but by making every breath a choice, every inhale a signal, every exhale a release. You don't wait for peace to find you. You build it, one breath at a time. Stillness is cumulative. Like drops in a bucket, it grows each time you sit quietly before the world shouts. Each time you close your eyes and remind yourself, I am not my thoughts. I am not my fear. I am the awareness watching both. And in that awareness, you begin to realize something radical. You are not powerless, not in the face of your past, not in the face of your grief, not even in the face of a future that's refusing to arrive on time. Stillness is power disguised as silence. So the next time the storm comes, and it will, don't just survive it, outbreathe it. Because in the quiet inhale, you remember who you are. And in the long exhale, you return to who you were always meant to be. That's not weakness, that's warriorship. And that is breath as armor. You ever notice how doing nothing is treated like a crime these days? Sit still for 5 minutes and the guilt creeps in. Like you're being lazy, wasting time, falling behind in a race you didn't sign up for. But here's the real scandal. That race we're all running, it's rigged. And the finish line, it keeps moving. You wake up and the first thing they tell you is hustle, crush goals, optimize every second, stack habits like Lego bricks until your brain forgets how to rest. You see, the modern world sold us a lie wrapped in ambition. That rest is weakness. That stillness is for the unmotivated. That being busy somehow equals being worthy. But here's the quiet rebellion no one saw coming. Doing nothing is sacred. And in a world addicted to movement, stillness isn't laziness, it's resistance. Let that sink in. Because the moment you decide to just be, not produce, not consume, not post, tweet, grind, or flex, you become unprofitable. And in this world, if they can't sell to you or sell you, you're suddenly dangerous. And I like dangerous because true peace, it doesn't look like yoga retreats or crystal collections. Sometimes it looks like lying on the floor and staring at the ceiling. No music, no motivation, no performance. Just you. Breathing, existing, refusing to dance for a world that feeds off your exhaustion. The mind will scream at first, this is a waste of time. You should be doing something. You're falling behind. But if you sit long enough, those voices lose their power. Because silence has a way of showing you truths that noise works hard to hide. You start noticing the tension in your jaw that's been there for months. You hear the stories you've been telling yourself about not being good enough. You realize, maybe for the first time, that your worth was never meant to be measured in output. That is the beginning of spiritual rebellion. The old mystics knew this. They called it Sabbath. Not just a day off, but a complete reset. A divine refusal to participate in a world that thinks everything, including you, is a product. And yet, what do? We feel ashamed for resting. We apologize for naps. We brag about burnout as if suffering is some kind of badge. But burnout is not a badge. It's a symptom, a warning sign that says, you forgot you're human. So here's the invitation. Next time the world tries to speed you up, slow down. When you're told to do more, do less. And when your brain is begging you to keep scrolling, keep hustling, keep pleasing, you sit and do absolutely nothing. Not forever, just long enough to remember that you were never a machine. Because there's a kind of power in stillness that terrifies the world. A kind of knowing that can't be marketed, monetized, or measured. A kind of presence that doesn't need validation, because it is the truth. And the truth is this: you don't need to earn rest, you don't need to apologize for peace, and you don't need to keep proving your worth to a system that profits off your insecurity. You are allowed to unplug, to disappear for a while, to just be. Because stillness isn't the absence of movement. It's the presence of everything that matters. So the next time someone says, "What are you doing?" and you say, "Nothing," say it with your chest. Because in that nothing, you might just find everything. And that is your true story.